Rates of homelessness are on the rise nationally and here at home. The Department of Housing and Urban Development reports about 1,300 homeless people in South Dakota, and the vast majority of them are in Sioux Falls and Rapid City. Now, homelessness is a complicated issue, and a person can become homeless for a variety of reasons.
Pathways Shelter for the Homeless Executive Director Jesse Bailey says the current shelter has had some renovations, but the need for more rooms remains.
We've been fortunate to find funding, whether that was from donors or grants, to be able to renovate the existing shelter to help it be more comfortable.
Rapid City's police department responds to thousands of calls dealing with homelessness.
Traditionally, law enforcement, especially here in Rapid City, we've been the 24/7 caretakers of the vulnerable in our community.
Well, nearly 1,300 people are homeless in South Dakota. That is according to the annual 2023 statewide homeless count. Most of the people surveyed were adults, but 16% were children. The count is lower than what it was last year, but officials say this doesn't necessarily mean that there was a decrease in the number of South Dakotans who are homeless.
Since the beginning of the year, Rapid City and the state of South Dakota have seen a rise in the number of people who are homeless. But not everyone agrees on the best way to help this population. In tonight's Eye on Kettle-Land, Sydney Thorson takes a look at the issue and some of the options.
Perhaps the biggest challenge for the Sioux Falls Homeless Task Force was narrowing down the scope of their recommendations. City Councilman Rich McCorris led the group. He says they focused on areas of consensus. For example, shelter capacity was a contentious topic, but the task force did not recommend building any additional homeless shelters in Sioux Falls.
As you can see, temperatures are cooling off here in Rapid City. Here at the Hope Center, Executive Director Melanie Tim says during the winter months, the facility sees about 200 guests a day. When temperatures cool down, people can come to the Hope Center for a warm meal or a cup of coffee. The agency also offers winter clothes and a place to sit and warm up.
Now, in South Dakota, Native Americans make up less than 9% of the overall population, but they account for nearly 70% of the state's homeless population. That's according to the South Dakota Housing for the Homeless Consortium.
They offer different types of housing. Tier 2 is longer-term housing for both families and individuals. Earlier this year, they added night-by-night emergency shelter housing with 20 total beds, 10 for men and 10 for women.
And what that means is, when somebody needs help, a lot of times it's a first responder that shows up. And many times we're left trying to problem solve and figure out what the best course of action might be.
That 2-year pilot program will run in tandem with a public education campaign. That should help residents better understand homelessness and ways to help.
Actually, in the last 10 years, this city has really upped the game in terms of homeless care.
Allender says people can turn to the Cornerstone Rescue Mission, the Hope Center, the Care Campus Police and Fire Services. There's also the Quality of Life Unit with the Rapid City Police Department.